Welcome to Danish-InfoNewsTv, your Danish English news. Today's news, we look at medication overuse and police report. Greetings from Danish-InfoNewsTv, your one-stop shop for the most recent news and fascinating tales from Denmark and abroad. Stay up to date, stay informed, and let's discuss the day's news. The sharp rise in Danes taking ADHD drugs was one of the day's most noteworthy stories. Police have been notified of the incident by Selling Group, the massive supermarket chain that owns NATO. We start with September 12th, Friday. Police in North Jutland are investigating a home care provider who has been released after allegedly stealing jewelry worth approximately 100,000 Danish kroner. They were responsible for the care of 32 elderly individuals. The investigation on the case is still ongoing. A 30-year-old man was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison in Glostrup Court for holding a man in Haslev for 16 hours. 3 accomplices received sentences and 1 was placed in preventative detention. A 25-year-old Randers man was quickly sentenced to 5 years in prison for selling over 90,000 opioid tablets, primarily OxyContin, after admitting to operating a sizable distribution network. To a different case, a 57-year-old man was sentenced to 8 years in prison for a fatal assault that occurred in Aalborg. In December of last year, he repeatedly punched and kicked a 48-year-old man who died from his wounds. To a different story, prosecutors in Viborg have finally dropped the charges against a former Randers chief physician who was suspected of making serious treatment errors. Following the revelation of significant problems with psychiatric treatment by a whistleblower, the case was ultimately dropped and will not proceed to trial. Now to Saturday, September 13th news. After a 73-year-old Asperger doctor was found not guilty in a lower court last year for allegedly abusing a female patient. Prosecutors have appealed to the higher court. On Friday night, 2 Viborg boys aged 14 and 16 were attacked in the street. When the police attempted to assist, a 20-year-old man promptly punched them, even hitting one of them in the face. He is currently being detained under arrest. At a parcel center in Copenhagen, custom officers confiscated 16,000 cans of illegal nicotine pouches. Authorities estimate that the product's unpaid taxes total about 300,000 Danish kroner. To a different part of the country, Helsingør saw an increase in burglaries on Friday afternoon and evening. A total of 4 residences were broken into between 1 and 9 p.m. Police believe the crimes may be related, but no one has been taken into custody. Now back to Copenhagen. At a city intersection, police apprehended a reckless driver who was exceeding 100 kilometers per hour and running a red light. His license and AR were immediately cancelled. Thieves in Zealand have targeted recycling facilities that have self-service system. According to Aufel Plus, thieves steal people's pricey clothes and electronics when they leave them behind. To Overuse, a man sitting in a bench in a city center was searched by police and they found a roughly 25 grams of cocaine and even a big kitchen knife. He appeared to be a drug dealer based on the scale he was carrying. To a different story, package deliveries to the US and Puerto Rico will soon resume their regular schedule after a temporary halt, according to PostNord. This is due to the new customs regulations in the United States. To a different story, furthermore, 1 suspect and 2 Lithuanian men were apprehended breaking into a house in Silkeborg, and they even made an effort to hide in a hedge. Both of them were arrested. On Sunday, September 14th, police officers in Copenhagen carried out targeted traffic checks, focusing on speeding. Due to severe violations, 1 car was seized and several driver's licenses were revoked. To another case, two different knife attacks took place in the heart of Copenhagen. On Sunday afternoon, a man in his 40s was stabbed on Eastergill, and later that day, another man was attacked. Police have detained the suspect in one of the cases, and both victims are still alive and in stable condition. According to a recent survey, people in the capital area are dissatisfied with home care services. The complaints include reliance on robot vacuum cleaners, frequent staff changes, and inadequate communication. At slightly less than 60%, Frederiksberg had the lowest satisfaction levels. A 37-year-old Randers man was in prison for 4 weeks after threatening and physically abusing a woman in her 30s. To a different case, additionally, 4 teenagers aged 15 to 17 were admitted to a North Jutland hospital following a car accident close to Aalborg. Fortunately, none of them were seriously hurt. Now to Monday's news, September 15. A 38-year-old Russian man was permanently barred from Denmark and sentenced to 6 years in prison. He was convicted of making explosives, setting off an automated tailor machine, and causing a 9-hour closure at Billund Airport. His life sentence for plotting to bomb the airport itself was revoked. After declaring bankruptcy in July, KFC will now auction off equipment from its Danish locations such as ovens, cash registers, and fryers. Goods from 10 restaurants and main warehouse will be bought by the highest bidders. To a different story, it is possible that 2 senior directors of a large Danish company violated international sanctions. They allegedly plan to sell military-related goods in Russia through dubious means. The company is also charged, according to court documents. A 22-year-old man stabbed a police officer in the stomach while brandishing a knife at a calling Burger King restaurant. The officer is still alive, but the attacker has been placed under remand in custody. To Kur, masked men threw fireworks and homemade bombs outside the local jail late on Saturday night. Police arrested 3 suspects and discovered more explosives and pepper spray in a nearby vehicle. To a different story, the poor working conditions at Normal's main warehouse in Hillensted are being protested by employees of the discount retailer. Workers assert that minor grievances may lead to warnings or even dismissal. The company denies the accusations. To a different report, finally 9 influencers have been reported to police for unlawfully advertising to children. Consumer authorities claim that many others have also been warned to follow the rules. Tuesday, September 16th. After eating wild mushrooms they have picked themselves, 3 people were taken to hospital on Bornholm. According to police, everyone was taken to hospital by ambulance, though their condition is unknown. To another case, after catching listeria from ready-to-eat fish cakes, 5 elderly Danes were admitted to hospital. The age range of the patients in this case is 70 to 95. Tinaxil has recalled the products. A different case. The murder conviction of a 43-year-old man occurred at the Danish Crown slaughterhouse in Hostel. He once stabbed a 35-year-old co-worker, bleeding him to death. To Odense, a window at Odense driving school was broken by fireworks. The case is under investigation. To Greenland, Denmark and Greenland signed a new agreement aimed at promoting the welfare and development of Greenland. Now to one of the main stories. Sailing Group faced charges of false advertising. Sailing Group, the business that owns NATO, has been reported to the police by the Consumer Ombudsman. NATO promoted the organic Overuse products as Denmark's 4th most sustainable brand. However, a consumer survey rather than actual sustainability data served as the basis for the ranking. According to authorities, this misled customers about the product's actual climate impact. The case may result in penalties for deceptive advertising, but NATO later removed the ads. To another main story on health. More adults in Denmark are using ADHD drugs. Psychiatrists in Denmark are worried about the dramatic rise in adult ADHD medication use in recent years. ADHD medications can improve focus, quiet thoughts, and ease daily life, but their long-term effects are still unknown. Professor Julia Norgård warns that improved diagnosis alone might not be the only explanation for the rise, and that the overdiagnosis could be a contributing factor. There aren't too many adults on medication, according to the ADHD Association, which also promotes the use of coping skills and counseling in prescription medications. Experts speculate that social pressures may also be blamed for the increase in diagnosis and drug use. Now to some business news. The Lundbeck Foundation will donate up to 1 billion krona to a new national mental health research center. Bispebjerg Hospital in Copenhagen will serve as the center's location. The Statens Serum Institute reports that number of COVID-19 cases in Denmark is rising. The increase suggests that the virus is still active, even though the overall level is still low to medium. According to recent data, 1 in 4 Danish stocks have disappeared from the Copenhagen Stock Exchange since 2022 due to delistings, takeovers, or bankruptcies. Energy behemoth Ørsted has also announced a massive share issue, offering nearly 901 million new shares at a price of just 66 krona each, way below current market price of about 200 krona. The action is expected to generate 60 billion krona. You have been watching Danish-InfoNewsTv. If you found this update useful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. To make sure you don't miss any updates, click the bell icon. Looking forward to seeing you in the next bulletin, and enjoy your viewing.